The cool day is a absolute blessing, isn't it? I was sweating cats and dogs. I never understand sweating bullets. Doesn't make sense. But my face felt like it's a pouring rain. To those who were helping with the conference, I just want to extend a thank you from my side. And it was a massive blessing. And we pray that God will use the conference and those sessions that it would edify those who were here. And thank you for your amazing support as well, for the prayers and helping in the kitchen and all this nice stuff. As you know, we've been busy with First Thessalonians, and we've gone through several sessions of teaching, which is heavy. So this morning we are not going to continue with First Thessalonians. We're taking a short break. Next week we will have Colin here to preach for us as well, Lord willing. So we are taking a short break before we continue on with chapter 5 of First Thessalonians. So please turn in your Bibles to Psalm 55. Psalm 55. Now I was tempted to engage with you a little bit more and ask some difficult questions. But what I'd like to do maybe instead is just answer it in your mind. You don't have to raise your hand as we work through this. Psalm 55. Now, I heard a story some time ago of a farmer who allowed his son one day to earn some extra money. And so the son came to his father and said, "Listen, can I have this little piglet, please?" And the father's like, "Sure, you can have the piglet. What do you want to do with it?" He says, "No, I'm going to take it to the abattoir, the slaughterhouse, and kill it so that I can have some extra meat, and I will sell the meat." The father's like, "Okay, that's all right." He said, "Here's a wheelbarrow." He said, No, the piglet is light enough, I'll carry it." And so he takes his little piglet and he puts it on his shoulders, and like, it's just 10 kilometers away. It's not that far to walk. He puts the piglet on his shoulders and he starts walking towards the abattoir. About halfway through, he realized that light piglet is no longer that light. It's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And after halfway through, now every single kilometer, it feels like it's doubling in weight. I don't know if you've ever gone through that, where you start carrying something, it just becomes heavier and heavier and heavier the longer you carry, and eventually you just have to put it down. And so here's this boy, he wants something, and eventually this piglet just gets too heavy. Close to the end, he said, "If only I took the wheelbarrow." But anyways, he finally reaches the abattoir and he gives it to the butcher. The butcher slaughters it, puts it on to hang to say how much he's willing to pay for the meat. And the little piglet is only 2 kgs. And this guy's like, "Okay, but what am I going to get?" He's like, I'll pay 50 Rand a kilogram." It's like, "Only 100 Rand. Like, you know what? Leave it overnight. I'll come measure it tomorrow. It gets heavier the longer it hangs." Needless to say, it didn't get heavier. It just felt heavier because we get tired over time. Now, that's a problem with us. We feel like we have to take a burden on ourselves and we carry it. And at first, it feels light. It's not that a big deal to put it on our shoulders and start walking with our own burdens, with our own sorrows and our difficulties. But as time progresses, it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier. Halfway through, we wish we just had something that can ease the weight of our burdens. Like this guy, he should have taken a donkey or a wheelbarrow and just taken the weight and put it on there. And this is what this psalm is all about. One of the very well-known verses is found in verse 22 that says, "Cast your burdens on the Lord." Take the weight off your shoulders and throw it on God. But the problem is, many times we say these wonderful words and we're like, you know what, cast your burdens on the Lord, let Him carry it, let Him take the weight off of your tiring shoulders, and we ask ourselves the question, how? What does it really mean to cast our burdens on the Lord? And this is what this psalm essentially teaches us. Here is David undergoing tremendous burden. He is weighed down by sorrow, deep hurt. And we will see later on, this is a man in pain. This psalm is called a psalm of lament. He's crying, he's moaning, he's complaining all the time, he's lamenting before the Lord. It falls within a section of, within the Psalms, it's split into, can I say, two major groups in this regard, and this is called an Elohist Psalter. It is Psalms 42 to 83. It is in the middle of the book of Psalms, and the reason it was named this is there's a distinct difference in the way that the psalmists addresses God. Every time they've addressed God as Yahweh, and now they're addressing God as Elohim. It's like something have changed in this little middle section. Now, it's not a massive thing, but we do see the sovereignty of God displayed in this middle pieces of Psalms. It is like God's sovereignty is highlighted within this middle Psalms. It's like if we go through our hymn book, and we will see our hymn book, the red hymn book, for those who can still remember how it was set up. It's set up as hymns about Christ, and hymns about God, and hymns about the church, and hymns about salvation, and so on. Well, this middle section is essentially Psalms really highlighting God's amazing sovereignty. But he does that through lament. He's crying. And the context warrants that. I mean, here's David, and Psalm 55 falls within a time window where Absalom, his son, was rebelling against him. Here's his own son that doesn't like what his dad did, and so he starts staging this coup to take over the throne from his father, and he turns the city against David, and he at last turns David's own inner circle against him. David's trusted counselor and advisor and dear friend, as we will see later, Ahithophel, he basically turns away and he turns his back on David, and he stabs David in the back as he as well rebels against King David. It's part of his inner circle. He knows David's weaknesses, his troubled heart. I mean, he's his counselor. He poured out his heart to this friend, and he turns around and stabs him in the back. One of the greatest forms of betrayal and hurt is when somebody this close to you stabs you in the back and turns against you. And instead of helping David, he now starts to advise Absalom on how to capture David. What will hurt David the most? And in turn, Absalom goes and he tells the whole city about what will hurt David the most. And so here's this man hurting from every angle. And he's being advised by his closest friend. It is a time of painful betrayal, and David isn't just sitting in his palace. We see, if we read in 2 Samuel, David was moved out or pushed out of the city. He had to flee for his life. And so he's on the run. Not only is his friends betraying him, but he also has to flee. He has to leave everything behind. He's experienced tremendous pain. And so this emotional setting that Psalm 55 introduces to us is a man praying in exile, running for his life. A man like you and I who are overwhelmed by anxiety and worry and stress. He doesn't know what to do, what choice to make. Should I go there, or is there spies that's going to catch me? Should I go to this place? What am I supposed to do? And in the middle of this overwhelm and stress and anxiety, we see a hint of anger, which is fitting, isn't it? If you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever gone through troubles in life, we are easily overwhelmed and it turns into anger. He's trying to process this shock to his system that his own son Absalom turned against him. And so Psalm 55 will give us about 7 rules of how to pray in times of trouble. 7 rules on how to pray in times of trouble. Now, I've titled this morning, and I want to share the title. I said, Trouble Talks Loud. If we are suffering and we are in any form of trouble, it talks loud. But prayer talks louder. Don't throw away prayer. I was amazed at the amount of songs that we've been singing and things we've been listening to this morning without me saying anything to any of the people that prepared it, and how aligned it is with the comfort that we find in prayer. Just giving it to the Lord. So we will see 7 rules as we work through this passage. Now we're going to read verses by verses. The first rule is seen in David's troubled heart. We see that we need to be truthful about our own troubled hearts. We look inward and be truthful about your own troubled heart. That's verses 1 to 8. Secondly, we will see a troubled society. And we need to be truthful about the troubled society around us. We start looking outward and we are truthful about what is happening around us. There's no need to be naive. Verses 9 to 11. Then we will see the core of his pain, a troubled friend, and it teaches us that we need to acknowledge our deepest disappointments. Fourth, we will see the punishment for trouble, how David releases his anger and let God be the avenger. Verse 15. The fifth rule will be to turn away from, or his turn from trouble, how he now reaches out to God and not himself with confidence. Verse 16 to 19. The sixth rule is we have to recognize trouble's character. What David does is he recognizes the character of trouble and the troublemaker. In other words, we should not get consumed by our own troubles and take on the character and identity of trouble, but as we will see in the New Testament, we are to be transformed by our character. Verse 20 to 21, and we will end in the solution, the beautiful solution to our troubled hearts. That is when we rely on God, we fear God, and we trust God fully in verses 22 to 23. Now, Liam have reached a stage in his life. I'm going to use him as a bit of an example, but you'll understand this. He's reached a stage in his life where whenever he gets a boo-boo and he gets hurt, it seems like there's one of two cures. Any one of the young kids, they will have done that at one stage of their life. They run to mom or dad for a kiss. And it's cute when he does it. He just like puts his hand, I want a kiss. Or he wants his magic plantain salve. Little ointment made from something that my mom and dad